if you overpromise and underdeliver, you're going to lose trust. And there's an old saying out there: trust is the hardest thing to gain, but the easiest thing to lose.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. I'm your host today. My name is Brett Gilliland, and I'm with Elite Entrepreneurs. My team and I get to interview lots of business owners that are in this early seven-figure range who are trying to grow their businesses. And we're talking with real business owners who are having real success and who are facing real challenges. And we're looking for lessons that can be applied to all of you who are out there trying to build your own businesses. My guest today is Jared Black. Jared's business is In the Black Marketing and Consulting. You can think of them as a full service marketing agency, marketing and media consulting firm. They help businesses of all types with all of their marketing needs. Welcome to the show, Jared. I'm glad to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Brett. It's an absolute pleasure.
Okay, so I gave a very, very high level, very brief introduction to In the Black Marketing and Consulting. But why don't you give everybody listening a little bit more context about who you are, what you guys are up to, and then we'll jump into the meat of our interview.
Yeah, that sounds great. So, In the Black Marketing and Consulting is based here in Charleston, South Carolina. Also voted the number one city in the U.S. many times over. We are a full service marketing firm, or also we like to describe ourselves as a revenue growth firm. What does that look like, and what does that mean to those that are listening? Well, marketing tactics are what they are. A lot of business owners tend to do them themselves. Sometimes they hire internal marketing people or firms and agencies kind of like ours. But we like to take a dive a little bit deeper and make sure that the revenue growth matches the marketing expense that coincides with it. Hence the name In the Black. You can't operate a business in the red. So we want to make sure that we're always in the black for our clients. So what does that mean in terms of tactics? Well, we do website development, graphic design work, logo design, lead generating ads via social media, pay-per-click, any type of digital marketing, as well as your traditional media placement, radio, TV, billboards. We offer videography services, photography services, and content marketing, whether it's text messages, email marketing, newsletters, so on and so forth.
All the stuff to make
all the things.
Yeah, to make all of our marketing dollars produce the revenue that we're looking for. Okay, awesome. That's good context. Now let's jump into, we want to pull some of the valuable lessons learned that you've had as a business owner. You started this thing however many years ago, and you've grown it now to this place where it's not just a question mark as to whether or not this thing's going to work. It's working. It's going well. You're serving many clients, doing great work, and now the question is, how can we keep growing it? So you went from startup to something that's working great. What are some lessons that you learned, a key lesson or two that might help other business owners that are trying to go from scrappy, gritty founder entrepreneur to now more capable business building owner?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We started this business back in 2018, July 1st, as a matter of fact. So we're coming up on 6 years. It'll be
Congrats.
this
Yeah.
year. There are six. Thank you. It's like what you said. It started off as something over here, and now it's built into something that we hoped that it would be, but never thought that it would be as quickly as it has been. And it's been a blessing. It truly has. But you learn a lot about these things as a first time entrepreneur. Who came from a corporate America background, and prior to that was a golf professional. At the end of the day, you really don't know what you don't know, so you learn a lot of valuable lessons. You make a lot of mistakes. You scrape your knees on some things, but at the end of the day, you learn these lessons, and you need to make sure that you don't make the same mistake twice. So, kind of highlighting on some things that just come to mind. One of the valuable lessons I would say is, I always have a saying in business: do what you say you're going to do. In the marketing and consulting world, we have clients. We work for our clients. I would say that we have about 27 clients that are nationwide. Majority of them are here in the Carolinas area, but we also have clients that are all the way on the West Coast, in San Diego and in San Francisco and in LA. with a national franchise company that we work with, and they have locations across the country. But because you work for your clientele, you always must do what you say you're going to do. And I think that that's a valuable lesson for any of the listeners that are out there as a business owner, because that's where it really can really get you in trouble. If you overpromise and underdeliver, you're going to lose trust. And there's an old saying out there: trust is the hardest thing to gain, but the easiest thing to lose. And that's from your peers, your friends, your family, your team members, and most importantly, your clientele in business.
Well, I love that you included so many different groups of people as you enumerated all the folks that you need to be your word with. Sorry, I put the
Yeah.
term "be your word" um, into that phrase. But I love to know, Jared, if you don't mind going a little deeper, what have you seen? How has being your word? How has doing what you say you're going to do benefited your relationship with your? Let's start with your clients. Just with your clients, what has that meant to the relationship? How does it show up?
It's really trust at the end of the day, you know. So, as a marketing firm, if you're a really good salesperson, let's say, and I came from a sales background prior to starting the marketing firm, people would say that I'm pretty good at sales. Um, I don't always like to have that ball cap or that feather in my cap of saying you're really good at sales, because that could be misconceived. Uh, you could be a sleazy car salesperson. You could be a really good pushy salesperson. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be a salesperson, you need to make sure what you're selling to your consumer is the right thing. And I think I always prided myself on selling the right solution to the client. So fast forwarding to In the Black, and what we are, what doing what you say you're going to do for a client, we're selling our services as a team. And most of the time it's revenue generating marketing strategies, whether it's a lead gen campaign, whether it's a national branding campaign, or even a local regional campaign. If it doesn't work and you don't do what you say you're going to do, what you promise the client, you're going to eventually lose the trust and eventually lose the client. That's not what we're in this game for. Let's just call it a game. We're in business to do business. So, and the key to any sustainable, long term business is reoccurring revenue, right? I mean, think about gyms, for example. The goal of a gym is to get a bunch of members and have that monthly recurring revenue that comes month after month after month, year after year after year. Sometimes you could expand on that and have a merchandise line, if you will, and that's just extra passive income. But in the marketing world, our goal is to have reoccurring revenue each and every month by retaining our clients. And how we retain our clients is by doing what we say we're going to do, and then at the end of the day, also getting them the results that we had promised, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and every brand, every company is making a promise every time they exchange dollars for a product or service. Like people are
Sure.
buying an expectation, right? A promise, and we're all fulfilling on that promise. So I love the I guess the core nature of this issue that you're sharing today is it's right at the heart of the value exchange when our clients or our customers or our members or our patients decide to give us money. It's in exchange for an expected thing. There's a promise that we sold, and sometimes we call it a brand promise, sometimes we just say here's what you're going to get for spending that money. But yeah, doing what we say we'll do is so essential in keeping a business, especially anyone that's going to be healthy or growing. So thank you for sharing that. I'm curious if we could go one layer deeper with whether it's with clients or with team members. When you have been consistent in doing what you say you'll do, how does that come into play when something unexpected happens? When there's a mistake, when there's a disappointment? How has previously doing what you say you'll do help in a situation where something goes unexpectedly?
Well, mistakes happen. Life happens. Um, in the event that something happens in business, whether it would be with a client or a team member, that doesn't go the way that it's planned, I've learned that you always must address the situation head on. I use a lot of acronyms or analogies,
Mhm.
in business because we work with a bunch of different businesses. Whether you're a catering company, a car dealer, a pool company, a CPA. I mean, I love business at the end of the day, and I know a little bit about a lot of different things, and that's what makes it fun. But there's a lot of business rules that are out there that I believe are uh, your SOPs, if you will. And when an instance comes across that's, having to have a difficult conversation or addressing a mistake, you need to address it head on. So back to an acronym that I learned years ago. It's LEARN, LEARN, and it stands for listen, empathize, apologize, respond, and then nurture. So I, I don't have a recent example that I could give you, but anybody that's out there listening, if you could take any nugget away, take that away because I could promise you things are going to happen in business. I'll give another example. I play a lot of golf, a lot of golf. Like I said, I used to be a golf professional, and I play a lot of casual rounds of golf. But on occasion, probably once every 6 weeks, I'll play in a tournament. Whether it's a club tournament or a member guest at another club, and things always happen in golf tournaments that don't normally happen on your day-to-day round. You catch a lie that you're up against a tree and you don't practice those types of shots, you don't always have to practice those types of situations in business, but what you do need to do is be prepared to handle those situations. And the best way to handle those situations, in my opinion, is addressing them head on. If you're the business owner or one of your team members made a mistake, you as a leader need to fall on that sword. You don't throw your team members under the bus. You take the slap on the wrist or the punch in the nose if you have to, and you wake up the next day and you keep rolling, and you learn from that mistake, and you'll I can assure you that you probably won't make that same mistake a second time, depending on how hard that punch was.
Yeah, I love that acronym, and for the sake of trying to learn it, no pun intended, why don't you review that one more time for me and our listeners? So L was for listen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
E was for empathize. A was for apologize. R is for responding, and then N is for nurture. So you
Yes.
listen, you empathize with the problem, you apologize for the problem, you respond to correct it one way or the
Mhm.
other, or come to some sort of mutual agreement, and then you nurture that relationship to ensure that one, it doesn't happen again, or two, you could retain that business, retain that customer,
Yeah.
and get them to
Trying
come
to
back in and dine with you again. So,
strengthen that relationship. Yeah. Very good.
yes, sir.
Well, I found all of that extremely helpful. Thank you, Jared, for sharing that.
Amen.
Um, it made me think, and the reason I pushed a little deeper on that issue, because I think most of us would say, yeah, we want to do what we say we're going to do. I don't know a lot of business owners who think I want to sell the customer one thing, but really deliver something less than that. I think we all want that. As a value, though, or as a standard, I love it when I interact with people who hold that at such a high level of importance that they follow through, that they tend not to accidentally overpromise even. Like they say what they're going to do and they do it. And I love working with people like that. I guess the follow-up question for me came from the place of, even with the very best people at being their word, I don't know of a person on the planet who's perfect at being their word, right? Doing every single
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
right? And so I guess what I was getting at was the track record of, well, every time I interact with Jared, like he's doing what he says he's going to do, and then the one time when something gets out of bounds on the expectations or something drops, I have all this. It's like relationship equity almost, right? It's like I have all these previous experiences with Jared where he did follow through or his team did follow through, and that does smooth over for me the times. It gives me more, I guess, more grace or more leniency or something when now there's a drop for whatever reason. And I still think your acronym of learn, like, you should still respond in the way that you were talking about, but being your word, following through, doing what you say you're going to do multiple times, enables there to be less friction and less or a more recoverable situation when an occasional slip happens. And so anyway, I find that very valuable.
Yeah, no doubt, and I'm glad to hear that you did. I mean, the same holds true in any business, right? I mean, you think about your restaurant experience. You know, you might have a favorite lunch spot that you go to, or a favorite coffee spot, or a favorite dinner spot that you go to, and you might go there once a week, two times a week, three times a week, whatever your frequency level is. It's not always going to be 100%. You know, like
Yeah.
there's going to be times where there's, a new barista or a new server or a new bartender or maybe even a new sous chef that is hired, and something's going to be wrong with your order that you order all the time. It just so happens. But because you've got equity in, like you said, the relationship, um, you're going to give them a pass. You're going to give somebody a pass. And this life isn't always about getting passes, but there's time where you can build up that equity in your relationships again, whether it's with your peers, your team, or even your clientele that are out there, that, you know, things are going to happen, mistakes are going to happen. And as long as you continue to do what you say you're going to do, that apologize, empathize,
Learn. Yeah. As you
respond
learn,
and
like you
learn,
said.
as you learn from it,
Yeah.
you're going to, your odds are that you're going to be successful and things are always going to work out. Okay.
Yeah. Super good. Okay. That's part one of our interview. We're going to shift now to the second part, which and I enjoy both these parts, but I get an opportunity now to hopefully help you with a real thing that you are working on as you try to grow your business, and by helping you, we're helping others who are surely dealing with similar things. So, what would be the issue that we can talk about together now that I can help you with?
um, one, I would say probably the biggest issue, and I don't even like to call it an issue. It's more so a challenge, right? And I'm sure that there's a lot of business owners, regardless of the business that you're in, face this challenge at some point during their entrepreneurial journey, if you will. Is one thing that we find difficult, both my business partner and I, is scaling. And scaling is kind of twofold. One part is scaling the business. So to give a little bit of context, as a marketing firm, we work for our clientele. I mentioned we have about 27 clients that are nationwide. When I first started this business back in 2018, I had three clients, right? And those clients equaled X amount of revenue that was income for me at the time. Was it what I needed? No, but I was able to pay my bills and, make sure that I had a little bit extra in reserves and enough to get by. Um, as the business continues to grow and you continue to gain clientele, you continue to gain revenue. At that point, you need to make a decision on a P&L. Do I hire somebody? Do I get an office? Do I incur this additional expense? Do I buy new technology or additional technology to enhance our business, our team? So scaling is always a challenge. Um, Diving a little bit deeper, when you expand your team, do you expand your team first or do you expand your clientele first, right? Do you wait until you sign on the client and get them to sign on the dotted line and then have use that revenue and that income to support the expense of hiring a team member? One thing that we adopt here at In the Black is we're very slow to hire and quick to fire if we have to. We luckily we haven't had to do that in the 6 years since we started the business, but we are slow to hire and we're very intentional because we want to make sure that we hire the right person to do the right job for the clients of what we're saying we're going to do, what we're signing the client on for those marketing services. So scaling our business from a revenue and expense standpoint is always a delicate balance, which I don't want to say we've mastered it. I can't ever say that we're an expert in anything, but we've done a really good job of kind of scaling our business, our team with our clientele and our revenue. The most difficult thing that my business partner and I are trying to figure out from a 5, 10, 15 year plan is scaling ourselves. And I'm going to get a lot deeper here with scaling ourselves because people buy people. at the end of the day. Again, I don't care what business you're in. If you're in the car business, if you're in the restaurant business, if you're in the medical business, people enjoy their doctors. That's why they continue to go to their same doctors. People are very loyal to car brands, car dealerships where they get their cars serviced, and people are also very loyal for the most part to their marketing firms. One, because their marketing firms get them the results, but two, because they have that equity that we just talked about a few moments ago. They have their equity in myself, in my business partner, and our team members that we also put forward facing with our clients. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be a level of seniority, and when you're at the top, if you will, when you're at the business owner level, or senior management level for that matter, um, how do you scale? So our challenge has been up until this point of finding the next person to replace us down the road, finding that next person that can serve as the face of In the Black when Jared or Retta, my business partner, step away for a week to go on vacation with their family, or just needs a 2 week sabbatical because things just got really crazy. Like, who can step in rather than the responsibility of my business owner coming on me, or my responsibility going on her when we're kind of stepping away. So scaling ourselves and finding the right person that has the same values, the same morals, the same business ethics, the same business mentality and culture that we share along with our team has been has seemed to be a challenge. And it's not because we haven't looked or we haven't just found the right person, but really kind of identifying who that person is, and do they have the intangibles and the makeup of what I possess and what she possesses. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's a great issue. So my mind started out on the initial issue is more about the timing of when can we afford to bring in the hire? What's the right timing between the cost and the revenue, right? So that's where my mind went. But then this is a separate issue. While it's related, this had to do more with bringing on people that can replace what feel like owner or partner level types of relationships and value add in the business. And so I'm gonna make you choose, Jared. I can't cover both of those in the call. So do you want to talk? I feel like there's more energy and like more realness on this one that you just brought up. I'd love to go there, but you started on a different one. So where do you want to be in the rest of our time?
Yeah. No, no, go. Yeah. You drive the bus. I'll answer the questions.
Okay, so Jared, there's a little bit of delay in our communication for some reason, but our platform should smooth that out. So I think we're going to go with the second one. Um,
Yep.
well, tell me first, what's on the line if you're not able to find somebody that can come in and do Retta or Jared level work. Okay, let's just simplify it that way and say we need somebody who can come in and do Jared or Retta level work. If you can't do that, what's on the line?
The scalability and the growth of your business. So
Yeah.
it's a really simple question, really simple answer, right? You're going to be maxed out, right, at the number of clientele and the amount of hours and output that your team could put out every single month. So you're going to reach a ceiling of one, you're going to reach a ceiling of clientele. Two, you're going to reach a ceiling of revenue. So if you have a goal of doing X, but you can only get to Y, um, that's really what's on the line.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I and you put it very simply. I'm glad you did. And the reason I ask is I just want everybody to see clearly what we're dealing with. The ability to solve this challenge allows you to go pursue the growth goals that you have. Without solving this
That's right.
challenge, then you're by definition you're capped at whatever you and Retta can produce between the two of you at that level, right? Okay.
That's right.
Well, we
Yep.
can see that clearly. It's important if you have goals to go higher than the two of you can produce, then you got to figure this out. Okay. So what I think is helpful is is for you to get really clear. Usually most challenges for us as business owners start with getting clarity, right? We have to get clarity because sometimes we just say, well, I need somebody who can replace us. Well, let's get a little bit more clear. What exactly do you and Retta do? What is the skill that you and Retta have? What is the presence that you have with clients that you need to find in somebody else? And so first, we just need to get really clear, and let's just practice this a little bit, Jared. It doesn't have to be, an exhaustive list or precise, but let's just talk about one or two ideas of things that they would need to be able to do that you guys just do either naturally or you've built up this ability over time. What do they need to be able to do that you guys can do today?
Well, I'd start off with Reddit, for example. So Reddit noticed a big shift in consumer habits. I'd say about 5 or 6 years ago, and really kind of dove in headfirst with social media, and not just social media organic posting. By posting a reel here, posting a picture there, or even creating a Canva template. That you could post on somebody's feed, but more so with social media targeted ads. So Retta is Meta certified and has been certified in Meta targeted ads for several years now. She's the only one on our team that can do that right now. Of course, we could look all across the country to find people, whether it be on Upwork or do a search with a headhunter of some sort. But in order to scale our business and take on more clients, let's just say home improvement clients, we found a niche in the home improvement business right now that needs a lot of different home improvement businesses. They need leads. Whether you're a roofer, a painter, a pool company, you name it, they want leads, and you can generate lead gen ads through social media. It's a lot more effective than Google nowadays. It's a lot more effective than broadcast media. It's data driven. It's trackable, especially if you have a high performing CRM tool like HubSpot or Salesforce or anything like that. Reddit's the only person that can do that. So, being able to scale our team and finding someone just of that niche, we could hire somebody full time that is really good at doing targeted social media ads. That's an example from her standpoint, from a business owner. From my standpoint, where I really thrive, and the rest of my team would agree with this, is um, more so account management and project management, and finding kind of that mid-tier, middle level manager, if you will, or you know, insert title here, whatever it is, but for lack of a better term, let's just call it mid-level management, to really kind of oversee the day to day and manage a lot of accounts, so that I don't down the road have to be receiving text messages from clients that says, "Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that?" Um, a lot of our clients communicate with our team members, but you're still going to have legacy clients that have been with you for so long that, again, it goes back to buying the relationships and building up that authority and that equity, that brand equity of the business owner, that they still feel the need that they can reach out to you. And I want to be open. I want to have those lines of communication open. I want that business owner or that president of that company to be able to have the bat line and be able to call me at any time. But I also need to create separation as our business continues to grow, so that mid-level management can handle that stuff, and then we can focus on bigger things for our team. If we don't, again, we're capped. We're at a ceiling. We can't do that. I don't like to call it minutia, but I don't I don't need to always be playing in the sandbox down here. I need to be building the beach house over there, so that we could all get to that next level.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, very good. And I love this is kind of a classic situation, Jared, where the example you gave for Retta and the example you gave for you probably are the reason that your partnership works so well, right? She on the fulfillment or technical skill side, she's a strong a strong player. Like you're like, how are we gonna find the person that can do that? And on your side, this is the client relationship side, the account management side. The one of you is good at getting and maintaining those relationships, and one of you is exceptional on the delivery of the service. I'm oversimplifying, but so I hear you. But I hope that just in describing the unique ability that Retta has and what your strength is, you start to see more clearly what exactly we need to go find in somebody to replace one of us. And I think that that's also clear, at least for me now, as we're talking about it. It's not a person that can replace both of you, because you guys have different roles in the business and different strengths. So back to your original question about the timing of when we can hire, there's a related question of which one would we do first? Would
You're
we
exactly right.
right? Would we free Retta up first to do more production so that as we bring in more clients, and if we do free her up, is that to do more production, or is that so that she can do more business scaling, client facing kind of stuff? Or if we free you up by bringing in somebody else who can do client facing things, that just increase the capacity that you have for acquiring new clients. So there's a little bit of a seesaw thing, a back and forth. When we were kids, Jared, there were seesaws. I don't see them as much today. I think they're
That's
like
right. That's right.
dangerous on playgrounds. But when we were little, there were seesaws, right? And as the fulfillment capacity in the business goes up, now we don't have enough work coming in to pay for it, right? This is what you started with. And if we get more client work, we might not have enough capacity, fulfillment capacity to handle that demand. And so
Yeah.
you're always going to be going back and forth on that to some degree. And so what I would advise for you and anybody else out there is to minimize the swing, right? So the up and down isn't bad. It's the degree that becomes problematic. So you're always going to be a little bit more capacity than you've sold, or a little bit more selling than you have capacity to fulfill. And so it's kind of going back and forth on that. We just want to minimize the strength of the variability. We want it to be as close as possible. So hopefully that's
You're
a helpful reference.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Brett. And it's that, like I said, it goes back to the original question of scaling, right? And that is, I would say, our biggest challenge, of when do we make that decision, and then who, right? I'll always kind of lean more towards her side of the business and getting more help there, because they are, the executors, let's just say. And I say they, where she communicates a lot to the rest of the team, and I don't want to discount her position because she is a very vital role in our business. But um, you know, again, she's the only person on our team that does the social media ads, but she's also head of a lot of strategy and creative. Communicating with
Mm.
our creative director on design stuff, communicating with our account strategist and senior account strategist and digital strategist of challenging the norm. Retta is a true marketer of the sense. So I'm more of a business guy, which is again why we're good partners together. But freeing her up for more time. So if we could filter somebody in there for strategy where she doesn't have to do that, as well as um, the targeted social media ads, or finding someone that can do the targeted social media ads just as good, if not better, so that it frees her up to do more strategy. There's always that seesaw, but that's the point that we're at. And luckily, we're at a good point in our business to where we have both identified what we need. And we've always kind of let the business tell us what we need, rather than trying to force something one way or the other. And I think we're on the right path. 2024 has been a great year for us thus far. It's been our best year yet. We continue to grow little by little, year after year, and I'm really excited for what the back half of this year has, and moving forward into 2025.
That's awesome. I did another episode recently that had a similar issue, and I want to share what I hope will be helpful for you and others. A couple more things. So, a future org chart is something that Michael Gerber talked about years ago in eMyth, but it's really a practical, helpful tool. So, in the eMyth, he talks about creating your future org chart. I would peg it to your mission completion. So whatever aspiration you have for, let's say, through the end of 2026, over the next 2.5 years, like we're trying to achieve this outcome, or arrive at this destination collectively as a team by the end of this time. There should be a clear thing that you're up to together that sort of rallies the team and helps you decide how to allocate scarce time, energy, resources. Right? It's like, of all the things I could do, which ones help us get to the stated outcome, the stated goal, right? So if you have a future org chart envisioned at the point of mission completion, let's say it's December 31st, 2026, you guys are high-fiving each other, you're celebrating achieving the goal. We did it. Look around the room in that, in that space mentally. Look around the room at the end of 2026 and say, who's here? What roles did we have to hire to make this true? And it'll be strategy specific. Like if you guys lean more heavily into the digital marketing versus, I don't know, billboards or TV or radio, right? The makeup of the team looks differently. So you're going to have to get clear on your strategy and the associated org structure at that time. Then you can back into, well, where are we starting from? Well, Retta has, these three roles. She's actually in these three boxes today, and our future org chart has actually three separate people, but she's doing the role of those different roles, the different boxes today. So you're beginning with the end in mind with the future org chart. You're coming back to the reality of today, and you're saying who on the team today is doing those roles, and then you're making those trade-off decisions. Like, okay, if we relieve Retta from this role, how does that help the business? How does that free her up to do more of something else? If we relieve Jared from this primary responsibility, how does that help us with in line with our strategy go allocate resources differently to go achieve our goals? So I would use the future org chart tool to help us get clear about what those roles are that we need to fill out. And then you can start to say, if we were to unburden one of our current team members of this role by hiring somebody else in, how does that help us get closer to our objectives? Then on the affordability side, Jared, just quickly on the affordability side, I would use a revenue per employee number. And that's new for a lot of business owners. Maybe you've done this already, but over the past 6 years, there have been times in your growth where the revenue per employee felt healthy, where it felt like, okay, we're not scraping the very bottom of our cash flow, right? Like it's healthy. We've got a healthy revenue per employee, a healthy productivity number. And then when you hire that next person, immediately you go down on the revenue per employee, right? That's just how it works. So you go up as the team performs at higher levels, then you hire somebody and you go down in revenue per employee. And that team member gets onboarded, gets producing, and then now you're back up on revenue per employee, then you hire the next person and you go down. So the reason I'm bringing this up is if you kind of know what the right revenue per employee is for you guys to feel like the affordability factor is where it needs to be, that can be a nice little indicator for the timing of your next hire and say, you know what, we're still too light on the revenue per employee. We can't afford it. We know because our history shows at this range, we're okay to bring in a new employee because it's immediately going to go down, just like you said. And then the
Yeah.
last point that I would make is, especially you on the client acquisition side, if you're keeping a pulse, even in your prospecting or potential client conversations, if you know the type of demand that's bubbling, like if more people are wanting service A or this bucket of services, then you're getting signals from the market on what they value in your service, and that should also inform when do we hire this type of role versus that type of role. So
Yeah.
anyway, those were a jumbled set of ideas, but I wanted you and others to have a few things to take away. Great issues that you brought up. Thank you for what you shared, and then that learn acronym was awesome. And then the whole do what you say you'll do as a principle is amazing. Love the learn acronym edition. And then this issue that you raised is one that lots of businesses struggle with. So thank you so much, Jared, for being on the show today. How can people learn more about In the Black marketing and consulting, or how can they connect with you on social?
Yeah, thank you, Brett, and thanks for having me. If anybody is interested in connecting with us or learning more about ways that we could help, they could find us on Instagram at In the Black Marketing or Facebook. They could find us at In the Black Marketing and Consulting, as well as LinkedIn at In the Black Marketing and Consulting. And then our website is intheblackchs.com. CHS is short for Charleston. We're based in Charleston, so www.intheblackchs.com.
All right. Thank you, Jared. And for all of you listening, please share, like, review, rate, do all those things to engage with these episodes because we're trying to help as many seven-figure business owners as possible with these great lessons learned from real business owners who are out there doing it. They're learning and the challenges that they're facing as we try to provide as much resource and help for your seven-figure journey. Please share it with as many as possible. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, and we'll see you next time.